Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast, and we're all here and we're all talking football that has been and football that is to come, talking about positivity. There's a lot of positivity in this one, and everything in between, basically. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Drop reviews if you've got reviews you want to drop. And if you've got a football fan in your life, send them the podcast. They might enjoy it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, football podcast.
Recording in progress.
She isn't wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Whilst recording is in progress, admin continues to be done. Obviously, pulling the curtain back massively. The book that holds all of the information is being updated as we speak. That may give you an indication as to the time of recording of said podcast. But welcome along to your weekly instalment of football-based nonsense and tomfoolery. Obviously, I never do this alone, as that would be the world's saddest podcast. But I am joined by the man who birthed the CookieCast podcast network. Mr. Andrew Cook, how are you, sir?
Can I just get some clarification that this isn't the saddest podcast that there is?
Trust me talking on my own about how terrible Middlesbrough are would not be a podcast anyone wants to listen to.
Versus...
This is three people talking individually about
but at least when there's three people talking about how terrible their respective football clubs are, and then the guy who hosts the podcast, who tries to bring at least a semblance of some sort of, I was going to say professionalism, I didn't mean that, positivity to the...
There's no professionalism here whatsoever.
It brings at least something to the table.
Week in, week out, I turn up and try and say, come on guys, these teams can do it. And week in, week out, I am proved.
And what a backhanded compliment to give the man as well. Professionalism, oh no.
No, I don't mean
positivity.
that. And rightly so. I am here. I am full of germs, and other than that, I am fantastic. Thank you very much.
Full of germs and positivity, and dare I say, professionalism. See, there you go, Stuart. I've managed to sort of wind it back. Obviously, you heard his voice there. The whole extraordinaire day himself, Mr. Stuart Woodmansey, is also joining us this week. How are you, sir?
I'm also full of germs, but possibly not Andy's germs. That is just a filthy rumour.
I mean, let the podcast fraternity just start throwing those rumours about left, right and centre. Let's see what can we come up with. And to finish the party, last but by certainly no means least, is Nottingham Forest fan, Mr. Matthew Moore. How are you, sir?
Fine, yeah.
Do you have any germs that you need to disclose to the public? Or?
I mean, I'm just going for a sympathy cough there, but no. I don't think no, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine.
Absolutely. So, yes, a couple of us not on top form, but we're powering through, ladies and gentlemen, to bring you some delightful football information. Quite a busy week this week. We have 6 games to go through from last week, and we can't even start with new manager news because we still don't have any for Middlesbrough and Hull. Or sort of do we for Middlesbrough? I don't really know, but as at time of recording, a new manager is not in place. However, there are strong rumours that an agreement has been put in place for Michael Carrick to become the latest Middlesbrough manager. treading the, at this point, quite worn path from Manchester United assistant of some kind to Middlesbrough manager. So, like I said, nothing's been confirmed yet, but there are strong rumours. He is a current 20-1 on favourite for the job with Sky Bet, which kind of tells you all that you need to know, really. When the betting odds get to semi-ridiculous nature, it's kind of nailed on that the sort of someone in the know has let the cat out of the bag. A positive appointment, I suppose, in my opinion. There'll be a lot of people saying, oh, but he hasn't got any experience. How is he supposed to get that experience if no one takes a punt on him? You know, he's got to start somewhere. Brian Robson had never managed before he came to the Borough, and it didn't exactly turn out badly for him. So, listen, all I'll say is it can't really be much worse than the shower of shite that's going on at the moment. So, if he gets the job, let's see what he can bring to the table. It'll be his first role. I'd like to think that people will throw their support behind him. So let's see how he gets on. Any news from a Hull perspective, Stu?
A little bit. No permanent appointment as manager or head coach, but Hull have brought in ex-player and ex-Sunderland caretaker manager Robbie Stockdale, and a guy by the name of Berry Pardo, who's the former Istanbul Başakşehir assistant manager, so plenty of sort of experience to help Andy Dawson. They have been given like official roles as well. I think Berry Pardo's been given something like head of sporting development, like, or some title to that effect. Be more to do with the recruitment, I think. But yeah, they've both come in to help Andy Dawson. But it's understood that the appointments aren't linked to appointing a new manager as such, which the search for that manager has now gone behind closed doors after they very much got their fingers burnt by trying to do everything very publicly with Pedro Martins. Although Pedro Martins is still the bookie's favourite, in the last couple of days, the odds on new Hull manager being Chris Wilder has been halved from 20-1 to 10-1. So there is a chance that...
Interesting.
Yeah, that may we may get yet another link between our clubs at this point with the managerial appointment. But yeah, nothing permanent yet. But maybe it could even be Andy Dawson. Depends how results go. But I'm assuming we shall get to that very shortly.
Yes, indeed. And obviously, there's no managerial news to talk of at Nottingham Forest, as there's no need to, because that manager is thoroughly in place. But I did see something today, Mr. Moore, about apparently the owner has managed to go and contract himself COVID once again.
Got himself a bit of COVID again, yes.
Dear me. Is he based in Greece, or is he based in the UK?
I was wondering where the question was going there. I was like, is he a big lad? He's a big lad. He is based in Greece, yes. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, most of his time is spent there. I think his son is possibly based over here a lot more.
Right.
But his main kind of thing is over there, obviously running Olympiakos.
So obviously, get well wishes obviously to Mr. Mavronakis. Obviously, he won't be going to the game on Saturday. You would hope. Obviously,
what does the government guidance say, Paul? What does the government... Oh, wait a minute. Fuck all.
Yeah, I think the less said about the government at this particular point is the better, but we won't go there. So, anyway, like I said, 6 games to predict, or 6 games to go through. Sorry, we start with our Premier League fixtures, where Wolverhampton Wanderers took on Nottingham Forest in a sort of Midlands derby, I guess. I don't know if these have these got needle between the teams.
No, but I have needle about it because I was listening to the radio the other day and they were talking about the Midlands the Midlands have got a really good youth setup at the moment, and then proceeded to talk about Birmingham, Villa, and Wolves. So if, in that situation, you're talking about the West Midlands, which I am from. There is also the East Midlands, because that's the way it works. In the middle, it has both sides of, East and West. So just for the future, folks, there are two sides to the Midlands. Don't refer to as it the Midlands, and then proceed to talk about Birmingham and the greater area, because also the West. It annoyed the living shit out of me, to be honest. But we can kind of. There's no real kind of rivalry. No, the East Midlands kind of again. The East Midlands stick to the East Midlands clubs all hating each other, and the West Midlands clubs all stick to hating each other there, and don't really bother each other, to be honest, on the whole.
There you are, ladies and gentlemen. Not only are you getting fantastic football information in your podcast this week, you're getting a little bit of history, you're getting a little bit of geography, you're getting a little bit of fire in the belly ranting from Mr. Moore there. So, lovely stuff. We've got a bit of everything all covered. So, Wolverhampton Wanderers going up against Nottingham Forest. It didn't really go to plan, I'm assuming, on this one.
No, well, apparently the plan was park the bus and not concede. And then they did. But apparently, Wolves didn't offer much either. But they got a penalty midway through the second half, VAR handball that seemed to take a lifetime to come through. And Toffolo had handballed it pretty. I think if you got to go to VAR for it and kind of go through it, at some point we've got to be like, is this in a unnatural position? I mean, if it's all of a sudden attached to the top of his head, then yeah, that's unnatural. But I don't know, it wasn't, for me, it wasn't like he'd stuck it out to save the ball. I think it's this kind of thing. So then, yeah, Neves scored the penalty. Forest got a penalty due to a foul on somebody in the box. They initially thought it was a handball, but it was actually a foul, possibly on Yates in the box. Going back on again to VAR, and then Brennan Johnson missed it. And that's how it ended. Then, unfortunately, due to and I've mentioned this on the podcast before, the overactive Forest social media team had posted something post the Villa game, I think. And then, of course, that came to bite them on the backside because, of course, the Wolves had a riposte to it. Steve Cooper's come out and said, basically, yeah, that needs to stop because it's not really helping. Because at the end of the day, we're celebrating a 1-1 draw with Villa, and then antagonising our next opponent. If you want to find it, I'm sure it'd be very, very easy to find. It was all over social media. Yeah. Hopefully we're just going to go back to, like I said, when they were signing all and sundry in the summer, every player came with his own special video to launch them as a Forest player, and it just got a whole lot too much, and then they just got far too big for the boots. And hopefully a lot of people have been, I don't want anyone to have lost their job, but I hope some people have been put in their place, kind of thing, of how to run a football team and not just do things that antagonise people, because everybody's on social media, folks. So yeah, disappointing.
Just before we go through the predictions and the scores, one thing that did get raised in the unending VAR debate at the weekend was that, and I'd never really considered this before, but that someone, I can't remember who the pundit was that brought it up. It was either Jermaine Jenas or I can't remember who the other person was that was on Match of the Day this week. It was either Jermaine Jenas or this other gentleman who I can't remember his, apologies, but they said we're at a point now where if they're looking at the replays, they're looking at them and they're slowing down like the frames and stuff like that, and they're looking at endless different angles and stuff like that. The ref never sees that first time. The ref doesn't get a chance to slow it down because he's looking in real time. So all the replays should be looked at in real time.
Yeah.
If you slow something down frame by frame, it can make it look loads worse. It can make him look like he's literally just put his arm, or he's like moved his arm like as slow as anything into the path of the ball. But if you look at real time, his arm will move like in an instant.
I think it's a debate that's gone on for a long time in rugby as well, because the game's so fast and the players are so quick, and it's like, oh, that's a high tackle. And you hear the rugby players say, the problem is you go for a tackle and someone ducks you, you've already set off, and it's really, really difficult to stop yourself from making that tackle, and therefore it turns into a high tackle because they've made a move that you couldn't possibly react to. And that's the problem, is that we're playing a video at not real life speed, because you could slow everything down for everything to look terrible, kind of thing.
Exactly, and like you said, like it was always the way when obviously this is before they even had VAR, but they'd always talk about like bad challenges that ended up in like red cards and like players getting really, really hurt. And it was always a case of yes, but everything looked worse in slow mo. So,
but this is the kind of and obviously it will go off on a tangent. But this is the problem with VAR, is that people clamoured for it, and fans can sit there and say they didn't. They did, because people sat there and watched Match of the Day, and they watched whatever's on Sky and stuff like that, and they pointed out everything that they'd done wrong, and there was human error. Blah, blah, blah. We need to take out the human error out of football. All right, well, we've done that. We're still not happy. What do you want? Because what we can't do is that, because we now have social media, people go after the refs on social media. They did it before because there was no VAR and they made mistakes. And now they do it now because VAR has its faults. Because at the end of the day, it's run by humans who also have faults. So,
exactly.
Do we throw it all in the bin? But then also, Gary Lineker and Alan Shearer and Jermaine Genius and Ian Wright and every other twat that's on TV that wants to sit there and point the fingers at the referees, then they also need to shut up, because you're making... It's not the same as it was 20 years ago, when you could say all this stuff and there was no real consequence to it. Whereas now, you make a mistake, the referee makes a mistake, and 30, 40, 50,000 keyboard warriors get on there and give these poor people like absolute dog's abuse for a week, which makes their life a misery.
The thing I'll never understand with it is that, like, yes, it can affect the result. It can affect. It's always has been part of the game. Like you say, it's just human error. Without them people doing that, there won't be a game to be played anyway. So, why do they get off doing it?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the point. I think the thing it mainly boils down to is the fact that it's down to interpretation, and it shouldn't be down to interpretation. There should be basically things written down where this is a penalty, this is not a penalty, this is offside, this is not offside. Take the interpretation out of it, because unless it's the same person doing every game, you're not going to get the same interpretation. That's what it should be for me. There should be a centralised location, and it should be one person. I know the feasibility of that is impossible if you've got more than one game going on at any one time, but that's what it has to be, basically, because you're not going to get a fair reflection across the board. We could do this for hours. We'll have to leave there, otherwise we'll never get off the topic. So, from a perspective of the predictions, myself, Stu and Matt had all varying degrees of draws. I had 1-1, Stu and Matt had 2-2. No points there. Andy had gone for the optimistic Forest 1-0 win. No points there. Myself, I had Costa and Gibbs-White to score. No good. Stuart had Costa and Traore to score for Wolves. Yates and Johnson to score for Forest. No good there. Andy had Johnson to score for Forest. No good there. Matt had Dennis and Johnson to score for Forest. No points. Traore to score for Wolves. Neves to score for Wolves. Gets himself a cheeky little point. No points for his team, but one big, huge point for him in the predictions. We move on to the northeast of England, where Middlesbrough took on Blackburn Rovers in their lovely little sequence of win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, so on and so forth. And their previous game to this was a loss. So how do we think this one might have gone? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Blackburn Rovers 2, Middlesbrough 1. And you can always tell it's going to be a great game when after 4 minutes, your returning centre-half sticks it in his own goal. What a bell end. Just, oh God, I've watched it back a couple of times, and it was originally given to Sam Gallagher, but it is definitely Lenihan who scores the own goal. I'm almost certain it either goes in off his belly, or his penis, or a little combination of both. Either way, not a great start, not how you want to reintroduce yourself to the supporters of the club you left in the summer. It didn't get much better as after about 15 or 20 minutes they were 2-0 down. This one was Sam Gallagher, and oh my, he absolutely twatted it in. Oh God. They did manage to get one back before half-time with Duncan Watmore latching on to a through ball and managing to slip it past the keeper, but it didn't get much better than that for the rest of the game. Petered out to a 2-1 win for Blackburn Rovers. Andy had gone for an optimistic 1-0 home win with Akpom to score. That's 0 points right there. I had gone for an optimistic 2-2 draw, so only 1 goal away from being correct. I had Akpom and Fours to score for the Borough, Brereton and Dolan to score for Blackburn. No points there. Stu had gone for a 1-1 draw. Howson to score for Borough, Brereton to score for Hull. Score for Blackburn, sorry. No points there. Matt went for a 2-1 Blackburn Rovers win. 2 points right there. He went for Akpom to score for the Borough. No good. Brereton with a brace. Also no good. So, points for the week. Myself, Stu, and Andy yet to score. Matt streaking ahead with 3 points out of 2 games so far. We move to the East Riding, where Hull take on Birmingham City. Oh dear. What happened? What happened, Stu?
Well, we need to start just before the beginning for the full story, because the kickoff was delayed by 20 minutes because since the Wigan incident with the goalposts the other week, the linesmen now arrive with fully sponsored by B&Q with tape measures and everything. They measured the goals and proved that Hull haven't been able to score at home into a goal that was 2 inches taller than it should have been for the last however long. So before play could get underway, they had to get men with tools to chop the bottom of the posts off and reseat them all. Although, what did perturb me was that the guys who were doing it looked like they'd never used a saw before in their entire life and were doing it in an actual suit rather than work attire. Very bizarre. So yeah, I'm completely putting it down to that disrupting the flow and nothing to do with the fact that we're just fucking awful. So yeah, 14 minutes in, Cyrus Christie, literally the missing link between the 3 teams, gave away a penalty. Troy Deeney duly obliged to just smash it into the roof of the net. Rode it out till half-time, keeping it to 1, and then 2 minutes into the second half, thought, nah, they might as well get him another. So Bakuna scored on 47 minutes, and Hull could have still been playing that game now and still not been anywhere near scoring. So just one of those afternoons. It was the 5th loss in 6 games at that point. Obviously, the management situation hadn't, the changes we mentioned earlier in the podcast hadn't really come into effect by that point. So things can probably, hopefully, maybe only get better.
No, I don't remember that D-Ream song.
That's the remix.
Yeah, there we go. Things can only potentially, sometimes, maybe. Oh yeah, it's lost. Should I just go up? Yeah, that's fine. So, from a predictions perspective, optimistic 1-0 home wins for myself and Mr. Cook. Hellcast to score for me. Estepinian to score for Andy. That's no points, ladies and gentlemen. Matt had gone for a 2-1 Hull win. Estepinian and Seri to score for Hull. Hogan, brother, to score for Birmingham City. That's no points there. His team lost, but he gets a win with a 1-2 prediction from Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. 1 point there. His goal scorers, however, he had Estepinian for Hull, no points. Hogan, brother, and Chong, no points there, but just the 1 point for his prediction of the result. He's off the mark, ladies and gentlemen. He's got himself a point for the week. So he's on 1, Matt's on 3, myself and Andy still yet to score. Our next game, we go back to the Premier League. We go down to the South Coast where Brighton and Hove Albion take on Nottingham Forest. I'm going to go on a limb and say this problem probably isn't going to take that long to go through, Matt.
No, 0-0. Yeah. I don't know. I watched it. The pundits seemed to think that Forest were the worst thing ever to grace the Premiership. I didn't think it was that bad. But maybe I've got leaf-tinted glasses, maybe? I don't know. 70% possession to 30% possession. But, I think we spoke about it last week. After conceding... what was it? 16 goals in 4 games. Yeah, Man City, Leicester, Fulham and Bournemouth. Yeah, 16 goals in 4 games. They've now turned it into 2 in 3 games, which I think is a good place to start to stop conceding goals. We've got Arsenal and Liverpool next, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, 0-0. I don't know. I thought I was strangely pleased with the performance.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the majority of the game. As far as 0-0s go, it was fairly entertaining. It wasn't a dull game by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, just not a great deal happened. Like it got mentioned in the commentary at the time, but Brighton, really bad home form.
They couldn't finish the dinner either. That's always the kind of thing as well. That they just like.
You could just tell that they're just crying out for anyone who could put the ball in the back of the net, and they just if they had a striker who could finish, you'd earmark them as like potential like outsiders for the top like 8 or something like that because they play some lovely stuff.
I don't know what you mean about the striker thing, Paul, because they were singing the praises of Danny Welbeck before the game started, and oh yeah, okay, carry on.
Late shout for the England World Cup squad, you say? No, just to clarify, ladies and gentlemen, no one is saying that. So let's not put that into the ether, shall we? From a predictions perspective, 2-0 Brighton home win for Paul Williams. That's no points. 1-0 away win for Stuart Woodmansey. Gibbs White. That's no points. Matt, 3-1 Brighton home win. That's no points as well right there. Andrew Cook, however, went for a draw, went for 1-1. Gets himself a point for that particular result. Not for any goal scorers, obviously. Andy Cook, off the mark for the week. He has 1 point. Stu has 1 point. Matt's still in the league with 3 points. We won't talk about how many points I've got. We have 2 games left to talk about. They were both completed this very evening. We will get to those in just a moment, but we are going to take a small, brief interlude before we do that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Recording in progress.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, or just congratulations for letting your podcast play on. We move to our final games of Week 12, where Blackpool took on Hull City. Obviously, given previous results, I can only assume we're going to be thoroughly disappointed with what you're about to tell us, Mr. Woodmansey.
Well, some of you may remember last week's podcast. I was quite negative in the first half of the predictions, and I tried to instill some positivity in the second half. And we started with, Forest got a point. So that was more positive than it had been previously. And then Hull City went 1-0 up in their game after 26 minutes, and I thought, oh. And then 5 minutes later, they let one in. So Ryan Longman has been credited with the goal for Hull on 26 minutes. Kenneth Dougal, what a name, Kenneth Dougal equalised.
I can only presume he's like Argentinian, something, yeah?
Well, surely he'll be like Chilean based on previous. He'll get like Diaz after his name as well. Kenneth Dougal Diaz. That's it. And then I thought, oh, here we go. Normal services resumed. I'll wait for my phone to beep again, and then we'll be losing. And my phone beats, and Hull were 2-1 up. Right on the stroke of half time, in the 3rd minute of injury time at the end of the first half. So going into the break, Hull were 2-1 up. And that was an absolute banger of a goal from Greg Docherty. Talk about top bins. Jesus Christ. Nearly took the back of the net off, I think. It was wicked. And then, alert goes off second half. It's 2-2 then. It wasn't 2-2. It was 3-1, and Regan Slater scored on the 79th minute, and I'm happy to say that's how it finished. So finally, after, say, 5 losses in the previous 6, they actually won a game. So yeah, and away from home as well. So Hull 3, Blackpool 1 was the final score on the coast.
Dare I say there may be some intrepid Hull fans who took the Thursday off work and they are enjoying the fruits of the English Riviera. From a predictions perspective, 3.
Excuse me. Just a quick geography lesson. The English Riviera is Torquay.
Well, it's all the same thing. It's all the same bloody thing. Well, the English Las Vegas or whatever it's classed as. I don't know.
I think you can probably just sum it up as shithole, and then everybody's...
And if you listen carefully, ladies and gentlemen, that is the sound of podcast numbers plummeting in the northwest as we speak.
I'm tempted to leave. I love Blackpool.
Oh, there you go. Tune in next week for the fisticuffs that will inevitably have been thrown from Moore to Woodmansey. Oh, there's something we could try and get on pay-per-view. Podcast scraps. Lovely. Yes, 3 1-1 predictions from myself, Mr. Moore, and Andy gives us 0 points. However, Mr. Andrew Cook picking Longman to score bags him a little bonus point.
It's finally paid off. He's been flogging that horse all season, and he's got a point from it now.
Myself and Matt had picked Yates and Estupinian and Yates and Pelkas, respectively, so no points there, sadly. Mr. Woodmansey, Mr. Optimism, if you will, with the 0-1 Hull City win, bags himself a point. Did pick Pelkas to score, so no points for goal scorer there. What that does, from a predictions perspective, Andy, 2 points for the week. Stu, 2 points for the week. Matt, 3 points for the week. There must be some sort of like smudge or something in my book because I can't quite read what I've got for the week. So we'll just have to move on. So we have Wigan Athletic versus Middlesbrough in our final game of the week. So as we've said there, Forest managed to get themselves a point. Lovely stuff. Hull managed to get themselves 3 points. Borough are going to let the side down here, aren't they? They're going to go away to Wigan. They're not going to go as far as the English Riviera, apparently. They're going to have to stop in Wigan, get themselves a couple of pies. They're going to be a little bit, filled with the pastry and stuff like that, and they're going to shit the bed. Au contraire, ladies and gentlemen, just because they go 1-0 down, in the 34th minute to a Will Keane strike, they don't take that shit lying down. No. They managed to get themselves back on level terms just before half-time. There must have been something in the waters of the Hull and Middlesbrough drinks, as just before half-time they managed to get themselves either on level terms or even ahead in the game. Isaiah Jones gets on the score sheet to make it 1-1. Pretty much as soon as the second half starts, Middlesbrough back on the front foot. And Duncan Watmore, just making a nuisance of himself in the penalty area, manages to get on the end of a ball and pokes it through the keeper's legs for 2-1. In the 57th minute, a first goal in Middlesbrough colours for youth team prospect Hayden Hackney, which was a strike from outside the box and a delightful little finish. 3-1. Wasn't done there though. They get a penalty in the, just double checking the stats, the 69th minute. And it is thoroughly dispatched by everyone's favourite, Chuba Akpom gets on the score sheet. Unbelievably, Middlesbrough come away with a 4-1 win.
That's just occurred to me then. We've had this thing about sloppy seconds throughout the season. Obviously, Hull played Wigan not too long ago, really. And both teams went down 1-0 to begin with to the Will Keane goal, and then ended up winning. So, I'll do.
So, there was a tweet that had come out earlier in the day where Wigan hadn't beaten Middlesbrough in their last 12 meetings, and obviously Middlesbrough hadn't won on the road in the last 9 games. So this was your stereotypical something's got to give game. So obviously, one in signs went off in Paul Williams' head. 1-0 home win incoming. And obviously when they went 1-0 down, I was like, well, this is going to be brilliant, isn't it? But no, they managed to pull themselves together. Obviously, talk of the manager potentially being appointed within the next couple of days must have given them the kick up the arse they needed, and they got themselves a much-needed win. Predictions-wise, myself and Andy, 1-1 draws. I'd gone for Wyke and Muniz to score. Andy gone for McGuinness and Fours to score. That's no points right there. Matt had gone for a 2-1 Wigan win. McGuinness to score for Wigan. Fours to score for Middlesbrough. But Keane to also score for Wigan. So gets himself a little bonus point. Mr. Woodmansey hitting on all cylinders at the minute. Gets himself a little 1-0 Middlesbrough win. Point for the result. He's gone for Akpom to score, so gets himself a second point. So, closing out the week, some guy, 0 points. We don't need to go into it. It's some guy, you've probably heard of him before. Andrew, with 2 points from 6 games. Well done, sir. Tying with 4 points each from 6 games, it is Mr. Stuart Woodmansey and Mr. Matthew Mudd. Don't think we've had a tie before, have we?
Maybe not this
one, but
this is where we need someone who's like, the world's biggest podcast fan to go back through the archives and see if we've ever had a draw in the prediction.
Podcasto.
Oh, lovely stuff. That's week 12. Done and dusted, ladies and gentlemen. We have 3 games ahead of us this week. We will start in the Premier League. All these games are on Saturday. First time that's happened in a while where all 3 teams are playing on the same day. We start with Nottingham Forest taking on Liverpool. Mr. Moore's team, he will give us the pick last. I'll dive straight in on this one. I don't see this going well for Forest, sadly. I've gone for a 3-0 Liverpool win. Salah to get 2 and Núñez to get the other one. Stu?
I again, feel bad, but I agree that it's probably not going to go well. But this is one of the games where they'll have had it marked down as a bit of a free hit anyway, I think. Like, if they get anything from it, great. But more to play the odds for the predictions, I've gone for 4-0 Liverpool. 2 for Salah, 1 for Jota and Harvey Elliott.
I'll let you re-pick.
Yeah.
Jota's out till December.
Oh, okay. Well, Firmino will be playing then.
Yeah?
Go for Firmino then.
Played tonight. So Salah 2, Firmino, and who was the other one?
Harvey Elliott.
Mr. Cook.
It felt wrong, but looking at the way it was set up, I was a little bit like. And I would like to say all predictions that I've written in this book were before any of the games from this evening finished. Let's put it like that. I've got to give him a goal because he's in the room. So it's 2-1 to Liverpool. I know, but you know.
I'd forgotten that rule, and I feel ashamed of myself. So, naughty Paul.
I've got, as always, I'll keep rolling it out until he scores. Johnson.
Well, you wouldn't have to keep doing that if he could score in penalty, could you?
I mean, Andy rolling out Johnson is what I took from that.
Yeah, he played well last night.
So basically, get that on a T-shirt, you see. Andy's rolling out Johnson.
I'm on it. I was going to go for Salah for 2, but I decided no. Dive in there, get stuck in. I've got Salah for 1 and Diaz.
Also out injured.
I knew you were going to say that. Salah for 2 then, yes please. Lovely stuff. Why don't teams update their websites? Why can't they just put injured? Simple.
Because they're far too busy counting their millions and millions of pounds.
Then pay someone to do it with the millions.
Well, yeah, you would have thought that would be the nice sort of trade-off. Go on then, Mr. Moore. Give us the lowdown on this one. Give it a go.
I've gone for Forest 0, Liverpool 5.
Wow. So I was contemplating putting a big score on this one. I was like, no, Liverpool aren't that good. They've looked very, very vulnerable at times this season.
We've done a good job making people look good, though. You know, the other week. Does that ring any bells?
Well,
And as well, after that performance they put in against Man City, you're not telling me they're not going to use that now to drive them on a bit.
yeah, that's true.
They've had the 2 wins, haven't they? Like, they beat Arsenal the other day, and they beat West Ham tonight, I think.
Yeah, West Ham.
Arsenal beat them 3-2. You'll be thinking of the Man City game from the weekend.
Man City game, yeah, Man City, yeah. Goal scorers, I've got Salah 2, Núñez 2, and of course, just to spite me, Henderson will score 1.
Oh no.
Safe to say, this is on television at 12:30 on Saturday.
This is indeed the BT live offering. Oh no, Henderson. Oh no.
Paul feels dirty writing that in the book. You can tell by.
I do. I feel like I need to go and shower just to get that sort of like nonsense off me.
I'm really predicting it, but that's all the more reason why it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's true. It is the unwritten rule of the podcast. We move to the northeast, where could he even be in charge for his first game, Michael Carrick? Middlesbrough take on Huddersfield Town. Mr. Cook.
So, like I say, I did make predictions before games finished. But when I went back to my book, I was like, oh, maybe not that bad. Borough 1. Huddersfield Town 0. And again, I will keep writing this in the book until, 4s to score.
Interesting. Mr. Moore.
I have gone with a 2-1 win for Borough. It'll ride that wave, that new manager 4-1 away win by Watmore and Akpom to score.
Watmore to bag for a 3rd game in a row. Crazy. Is it Akpom for the 2nd?
Yes.
And your Huddersfield game, there you go.
You know where I'm going with this. Old boy rule. Ultimate old boy rule when they've been crap for you as well. Jordan Rhodes.
To be fair to him, I don't think he was that bad at the Borough. He never got a chance when they were in the Premier League.
He just didn't score many for you, did he? That was the...
No, and weirdly, never scored at the Riverside. All his goals were away from home.
Huh?
And then obviously last season he played against him at the Riverside and fucking scored. So that was nice. Mr. Woodmansey.
Nice and quick and simple for you for the book purpose. Nils.
0-0?
Yep.
Well, isn't that weird? As it's not the only 0-0 I've already got written down in front of me. As I too had gone for a 0-0. Now, granted, in the same vein as Mr. Cook, I had made this prediction before the game tonight. I am going to keep it at 0-0 because I've also come to the decision that I am not going to give Middlesbrough the satisfaction of predicting any more wins because they can go to hell, basically. They've let me down too many times, so I'm not going to get my hopes up anymore. We move to our final game of Week 13, where we have Rotherham United taking on Hull City. It's his team. He will go last and give us our last prediction of the week. So I will once again dive in right at the start for us here. I have gone for a 2-1 Rotherham win. They're on a bit of a roll at the minute, so I think they might have enough to keep that going. My goal scorers. It's in effect, ladies and gentlemen, he did play there. He wasn't a goal scorer because he was terrible, but Eves to score for Rotherham and Barlaser. I've also gone for Cynic to score for Hull. Stu looks horrified by something that I've just said.
How can you say Eves wasn't a goal scorer? He wasn't a regular goal scorer, but he absolutely was a goal scorer.
You do realise I've seen him play, and he was gash.
Yes, but you were also the guy that ragged me for saying Tavernier was shit, and you said he was good, and he was still...
Case in point, Borough sold him, and look how terrible they've been this season.
Well, Hull sold Eves, and look how terrible we've been this season. So,
Now that is beautiful. Yeah, my Hull goal scorer, I don't know if it came through, but Cynic I've gone for to get the goal for Hull. Matt?
I've gone for a 1-1 draw. Ogben for Rotherham. O-G-N-E. And Pelkas for Hull.
Mr. Cook?
A little bit of a mixture of both previous predictions. 1-1, Eves for Rotherham, and Estupinan for Hull.
Yeah, I think old Oscar's been a bit quietly lately, hasn't he? So
yeah, it's time to get back on that scoring train.
certainly is. It's his team. He's going to close out the week for us. Go on, Mr. Woodmansey. Give us the lowdown. What's it going to be?
I'm going to try and go optimistic again, like last week. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 away win. And purely because he seems to be rotating him in and out of the side at the moment, in the sense of he starts a game, then he's a sub the next game. Well, it was a sub tonight, so he'll therefore start in theory at the weekend, but I'm going for Tufan. Because it's about time he pulled his finger out on the goal scoring.
too fun. There you are, ladies and gentlemen. There is your Week 13 predictions done. Obviously, get yourselves down the bookies. Get all of your money on that 0-0 Middlesbrough-Huddersfield, because obviously that's your banker prediction of the weekend. Unless you gentlemen have got anything else to bring to the party, I believe we're done. In that case, it just leaves me to thank all of you wonderful people for listening in, and to thank these three delightful gentlemen here for joining me for another week of, for once, not football nightmares. Actually, some positivity on the podcast this week, which is a nice change of pace for how the season started. Join us again next week, where we'll break down the week's games, and you never know, there might be some more positivity. Stu's shaking his head.
Normal service will resume next week.
Yeah, I mean, Hull and Borough are 19th and 20th respectively. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, people.
Hey, listen, it's the right side of that dotted line, so that's all that matters.
That is true.
Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see you next week. Toodle bye.
So there you go, what do you think to that? Another one done, another week of games gone, another week of games to look forward to. Fantastic stuff. Big thank you to you for listening along. Big thank you to any of the watchers we've got out there. Before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Drop in a review you want to drop. And you can also check out our website. It's thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button for you to get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye. And I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.